Three, two, one, and we are live again. Thank you, all my friends and family, and Paul's friends and family out in Facebook land. Thank you for joining us. Paul and I, Paul Lucido, my buddy from the left coast, spend some time, actually, about every week or so, getting on, reading our thoughts. Going over our thoughts as they were inspired by Jay Doran's 30 Days of Thought. We pick a passage from each week to kind of cover. This week, there we go. Paul's got the book out there ready to go. And this week we picked Write It Down. Write It Down. And there's a couple of reasons why we do this. One, we were just inspired by Jay's great work. The other thing is, we try to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm used to getting on camera, having questions that I ask, having a subject, having people actually that I can do this with, and it's not on me, it's not on us. And this is our opportunity to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So today we are doing Write It Down. Write it down. And as always, Paul, I love it when you started off because, you've got just such tremendous insights to Jay's works. So take it away, Paul.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and I appreciate it. And I know we got a little hitch in our get along here. So Write It Down is kind of it's a little bit of another one of those deceiving titles. So when you think about writing it down so you can memorize things, so you memorialize thoughts. But what Jay is really talking about here, and this is kind of my take on what I read, it's a pretty short read. This is about speaking your truths. And it's also about metaphorically writing it down or sharing it like we do right now here on video. I mean, when you stop and think about what we're doing, we're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, as you said. And sometimes part of that discomfort is talking about things that are not very comfortable to talk about. Jay was talking about, the demons that all live in the basement, essentially, that, most of us push down. We want to talk about all the good stuff. But the truth is, a lot of interest comes from people wanting to know the actual truths, what's really going on, sharing things sometimes that are not pleasant, or maybe they're difficult times that you went through. I mean, let's think about some of the book reviews I've done. I know Stephen Littlefield, I'm just going to pick on him for a minute. He went through a very difficult time and he shared that truth with everybody. And then he's now in a much, much better place. But essentially it's about making our truths known and then overcoming the fear of whether, if I share that truth, is it going to resonate with people? Are people going to applaud that? Are they going to get behind me? Or am I going to be disgraced by sharing something like that? And that's very difficult. Going back to the whole ideology of living on video like you and I both do, Andrew, and we've been doing this now regularly once a week, which, good job, brother. Sometimes it's difficult and you don't know if people are really going to gravitate and even take interest in what we have to say. If you go too philosophical and too deep, you can lose your audience. You want to keep it real. You don't want to be an actor. So real quick, I will just bullet through and then let's just rifle through. I'm just kind of hitting it. Overcoming those fears, sharing our truths, whether it's going to be received in a good way, a positive light, or in a way that might disparage us or make us feel embarrassed about that. And then overcoming the thought that if I don't share my truth, will I be plagued with that, over time? The nagging question, what if I were to be heard, again, who may have I touched out there in the event that I share my truth? Did I make a difference? And then, of course, was I accepted as a result of sharing that truth? Did I resonate with somebody? So I'm going to leave it there, and then we can go back and forth and talk about it. So that's just kind of teeing up. Let's hear from you, Andrew.
Yeah. So, listen, this is my interpretation is that first off, so we have almost like an obligation to share our thoughts. Listen, we don't share our thoughts. We don't share actually what's going on in our mind. But when we die, we really die. Like there's nothing actually that continues without. Writing it down allows us actually to go beyond our years on this planet. And so one of the things we just fear judgment. We fear saying these things that are just it's like my unfiltered opinion. Are my friends going to like it? Are my friends and family going to make a judgment on it? And it's a difficult thing to write it down or speak it on video, knowing actually that's the what in the section Jay writes, the false evidence appearing real. I mean, that's really what fear is. But we kind of have an obligation to do this and to kind of share our thoughts. And those who are going to love us are going to love us more. Those who actually aren't, well, they weren't meant to love us in the first place. So I think actually being an open book, sharing your thoughts is an important thing, and that's what I got from Write It Down. And I'm going to quote Jay gives a little synopsis at the end of every section. So it says, "We own our truths, but if we do not write them down, they will be lost. Write them down." From Jay's words.
Well, first of all, I think you hit the nail on the head, and kind of where I felt you were going. As you were talking, it made me start to think a little bit too, and that was that you want to leave a legacy, right? And part of your legacy is through your actions, the differences that you made while you were here, the people that you touched, that you influenced, hopefully in a positive way, whether it be your children, your peers, your spouse, whomever, family. But also by writing it down, you're kind of chronicling that like a teenager would do in a diary, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I never had a diary, but I know a lot of young people that did, growing up, and they chronicle all those events and their feelings and different things like that. I feel like nowadays, through the power of this amazing communication we are kind of doing that in the way of video. Think about what Jay talks about. When Jay talks about reading this book, this great book that he wrote, and then making a video, in theory, when you make that video about what you read, you are writing it down. You're just doing it in an audio fashion and a visual fashion where people can see who you are and identify with your character. So in one way, we are doing exactly that. But I think what I'm hearing him say, if I really understood the depth of what he's trying to get across, is to talk about sometimes those things that we really don't want to talk about. The things that, really are in the basement, as I said earlier. Kind of reminds me of that one Rocky movie I saw, one of the last ones. I don't know if it was Rocky 5 is one of them, where he says there's a lot of stuff in the basement. We all have a lot of stuff in the basement, right, Andrew? So at the end of the day, if we can share that in a way that people can understand it, it keeps things more real. Not everything could be, a garden of roses. We're going to have ebb and flow, right, in business and in life. And so to me, I think that's what he's speaking to. I think you and I are doing a good job of practicing that. Again, it's about leaving a legacy. You're right. This has to live on after, as I always say, all our atoms have disassembled and moved on to wherever they move on to. But it's what we're putting out there in the universe, literally. And we're all contributing to that. And what an amazing thing that we have the ability to do such a thing like that, really. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my 2 cents, what I think, and about, what Jay has talked about from a philosophical perspective. He's amazing. Pretty amazing young man. Oh, and by the way, while I'm here, I got an opportunity to finally meet Jay in person. He's a very impressive guy. And I hope to have an opportunity to actually sit down and have a real conversation with him at some point. I got to meet Jenna Silverman as well. She's pretty awesome. So that was really an opportunity for me.
Great. Awesome. Fantastic. Listen, as always, nailed it. I think I agree with you saying it's getting to the basement, getting to those topics that aren't the most comfortable to talk about. Beautiful. So fantastic. So do you have a selection for next week?
You want me to just do the old point and shoot?
Yeah.
How about we do this one? Let's talk about the next one will be significance. How's that sound?
Significance it is.
Significance. And again, to all our listeners out there, we apologize. We started a little late. Kind of sometimes that can throw you literally off your game. But what is great about Jay's book, the overarching message is about culture, about cultivating a culture, living through your culture, the fact that culture actually matters and has a tremendous impact and contribution in one's life and everybody that is in that circle. So just kind of keep that in mind. That being said, love doing this with you, Andrew, as always.
All right, brother. Fantastic. And with that, we'll see you all next week.